Welcome to Different Gravy, not just another Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm one of the hosts, Richard Miller, and my co-host has been writing a series of movies based on the last few games. This weekend's is entitled Circling the Plug Hole Part 2, subtitle Needing Snookers, alternate title Doing the Bare Minimum. The only film franchise in history where the existence of a third film is entirely dependent on whether or not Andre Ayew turns up to play for Swansea. The mastermind behind the Wednesday cinematic universe, Dr. Luke Gledall. How are you doing today, Luke?
Clearly very tired and very lacking of any great imagination, if that's what I'm committing my time to, really.
The Zack Snyder of the Wednesdayverse.
That's it. I'm going to put it out and it's going to be shit. And then I'm going to be like, oh no, you need to see my 4.5-hour director's cut. Then it's not shit.
It's less. Yeah. It's less to the point where it maybe convinces you it's kind of okay.
See my director's cut. It's less shit.
And just a reminder, there's the Gledall cut of every episode of these podcasts, which is available only through a sort of mouse that you have to chase around, and you hear snippets. That's the only format it's available in. Exactly. It was his vision, and he has to be true to his vision.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a very strange week, Luke. Wednesday are the early kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
Our habit is to record hot on the heels of a performance, a result, and to the point where often we're getting the kind of catch up comments from managers and players and things like that during the recording. We're in the position where I think this episode could be entitled Trauma Live.
Heartbreak Live is what
Heartbreak Live, yes. Yeah, safe for posterity. The results will be happening and coming in, so there is the very real possibility we will be relegated during recording. So as I say, safe for posterity. You can play it back again and again. You can slow it down. You can speed. You can pause it at the precise moments. Our hearts break in two, like little Ralph Wiggum on the Krusty Show. So
think of it as an even cheaper Soccer Saturday. Soccer Saturday is pretty cheap.
Oh! Put me on camera! Put me on... Oh, no, nothing, no. Yeah, an even cheaper Soccer Saturday, which is one of the cheapest TV shows going.
And there's been a yellow card at Gillingham. I do want to see more of you, hear more of you as Merce, though.
Ow! He's missed it. No, don't worry.
I was just teetering on an orgasm. It didn't happen.
So yeah, I mean, all eyes are on the Liberty Stadium, but our attention will be wholly dedicated to the podcast. Don't you worry. This is just another occasion where Different Gravy. We've never seen an envelope we didn't want to push. We could have been postmen, but actually, it turns out we're podcast hosts. This is the way we've gone in life.
I think we did both work for the post office, but it was very similar to what happened It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then we just got so curious of every envelope, so we just opened all the mail for everyone, and that got us fired.
But it made us very, very rich, which is nice. Untraceable. Don't send cash in the post. Should we move along to the
let's do it.
Of news we have, Luke?
Let's do it, yeah.
Breaking hoo-hoos.
So we've got a question from a listener, and we've also got a bit of news. So I think we covered the bit of news first. Fairly positive news, although I don't think it tells us doesn't guarantee his presence next season, but the Bannon has addressed this ongoing rumor that there's a relegation clause in his contract and said that that's absolutely not the case. He's dedicated or tied to the team, tied to the mast of this sink, whether it manages to, go adrift on a desert island or sink, untraceably into the ocean. He's there for the long haul. That's what he said.
Our wee little hair transplanted cabin boy, Barry Bannon, instead of showing the direction, he's just basically saying everyone's wank from the masks.
With his armband, he's more the Captain Pugwash of the whole affair.
I guess he is, yeah.
I think it's a positive. I think what it means is even if he goes, we'll hopefully get a decent wedge for him going. And Lord knows we need some cash right about now. So, either way, it feels positive. I'm a little bit worried he's feeling like a bit of a spent force this season, having absolutely tried his darndest in quite a few games.
But I think previously we've probably seen the best from Bannon in a situation where we've not relied 100% wholesale on him, and we've had better personnel around him. So I think annoyingly that's kind of been the story of the season. Is, hey Barry, we need you more than ever.
Yeah.
And then
all on Baz.
I think he's performed pretty darn adequately considering that situation. But I think there's also been some times where there have been a few times this season where I think it's really shown that kind of strain. Heavy as Bannon's head with his new crown of hair. Maybe
sporadic tufts of hair.
Yeah,
from his lower back. I think you're right. I think that we can. Well, obviously, we'll come. There's probably sort of comments to have at the end of this game, the end of next game, to kind of wrap things up. But I don't feel like we've got a bunch of uncaring players. I think we've got maybe an untalented bunch of players. I feel like most of them are aware of the importance and the portents that each moment's carrying for them at the moment, but it's not. They're buckling under the strain of the moment rather than it bringing. Pressure makes diamonds, but it also makes quite a lot of crushed coal and stone and things like that. And unfortunately, under pressure, we are finding out there is a lot of gravel in this here Wednesday squad. But I think there's no downside to the fact that that's not a given that he's gone, and also he's not going for a cut price if we go down. I think he's always looked like he's cared, so there's no question of him having a stake in things. I do think he genuinely loves the club and would, and the position that we're in is probably heartbreaking for him in the way it is for presumably all of us listening and talking about it. So to move along, if you're happy to do that, we had a really nice email in the week entitled League One Beckons from Paul Owl, PWW Owl.
I just want to take a second to just appreciate the title of that email. And it sounds like we're there. Again, there's a lot of, I feel like basically for the future of Different Gravy, Rich and I have some things planned if we decide to go off and decide to come back for season 3, which, much like a football manager, we'll need to go off and reevaluate our passion for the sport, and such a thing. But we have talked roughly about some very nautical themes, and we've already kind of addressed Captain Pugwash, Barry Bannon. But League One Beckons sounds like there's some real sirens in the third tier of English football, just beckoning us onto the rocks, basically. the come hither eyes of Accrington Stanley and Rochdale. It's come to the rock bed of third tier football.
The siren song of Burton Albion. And who doesn't want to spend a night with an imp? There we go. So,
I was enjoying it till he wanted to introduce his trident. That was the bit. I really enjoying.
Oh dear. But yeah, alongside nice message about listening to the podcast and enjoying time spent with the podcast. There's a question about basically looking ahead. We've spent, I mentioned in the intro, the sort of circling the drain. It just feels like it feels like a matter of time. It may happen whilst we're talking now. It may happen in the week. It may happen next week. But it will be a miracle if we stay up. But Paul's question is based on the fact, do we even want that miracle to happen? Why? What's the importance of maintaining championship status? I think is probably part of the question there. And then the other thing is, well, wouldn't it be? We've done the purge and rebirth from League One a couple of times, and generally found that to be a helpful experience for the club. Kind of clear the decks and build anew. Happened. Unfortunately, it tends to be fraught with almost dropping out of the arse end of League One as well. But we had Chris Turner's sort of signing of 14 players or something like that in League One. We had a similar kind of turnaround during the next spell in League One. So looking ahead to maybe putting together a younger, hungrier, cheaper group of players and tackling League One, hopefully from the position of winning some games of football. Wouldn't that be better week to week than losing, being surprised if we somehow managed to not lose in the Championship every week? So I know there's a lot there, Luke. I've presented you with quite a smorgasbord of little bits and pieces.
Yeah,
but
and I mean,
like to pick up?
The interesting thing, football is very much cyclical. There needs to be this kind of, if I'm here in Canada, if I understand the situation, there needs to be a degree of forest fire to burn off the trees to kind of come back and grow back kind of better. It's just kind of, football is very cyclical in that nature. I guess it just depends on how this is going to happen and when this is going to happen. We don't know. There's still a question of we don't really know what the bottom is.
Yes.
And we never really know what the full bottom is. So the club has never been in the fourth tier of English football.
Nope.
Could happen.
Well, I think that's the thing for me. The unknowing part of this season has been almost the most frustrating thing. I do want us to stay up, but today it's like a win or a loss for me would have been a better result than getting the draw that kind of just keeps us on life support.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think knowing where we stand next season would be better than you're behind in recruitment because you don't know what your budget looks like, so you can't start recruiting players.
Exactly. But I think for the nature of this, that there is definite positives to be had with thinking about this. To think that we may be going into next season, and if Barry Bannon is still with us in League One, I think if we can afford that luxury, I think that could be quite useful. I think rethinking and regenerating a new spine of a team, I think it's just good to be done and cut our losses with a number of these professional footballers. I think it's sad that we're coming into certain players of certain natures and certain thinking about these things like Tom Lees. Could well be done with his Sheffield Wednesday career. There's a very high probability of that, much as the probability of us being, relegated statistic-wise over the past few games. And for someone who's been such a ardent professional and has had some very, very good times with this club, it's been a very shrewd acquisition, and it's been there for a lot of great moments of this. It's just very damning that we're now at the point of saying, I think it's about time for you to move on. These relationships kind of do end, like a lot of relationships do. Kieran Westwood, but it as well as another character to kind of bring out. There's a whole number of these. I think there's a weird perverse freedom that comes with thinking that a lot of that mentality and who these players are going to be done and going to be gone. So there's an exciting, tabula rasa, like a blank slate, effectively, to think about and to go at for next season. I don't know. And we don't know what recruitment is going to be like with the people that we think are conducting the recruitment in League One. But maybe there's still a degree of excitement to that because we can't keep picking these old mealy championship apples that we've done on many occasions. So I think there is promise. I think there is definitely promise. I think there's an excitement to thinking that if we can still work this, if there is a degree of budget, then we could theoretically be doing quite well and we could regenerate. And I agree with the mentality that Paul has in the email that there is opportunity to go with younger, hungrier, at a much more reasonable kind of salary base. I think, though, it could well be a difficult first season.
Yeah.
It'll be a difficult first season together, and I don't know, it's difficult because I think we've been saying about Wednesday for the past season. It was definitely last season. It was a bit like, I really want to wait for this regeneration to happen. And we started, I think we started the regeneration, but we didn't do it anywhere near enough to the level we needed to do. And I think that's probably a little bit of a segue into looking at this game. The only other thing I want to kind of say quickly is I remember last time we went down to League One, and I remember we kind of splashed the cash on, again, it was kind of championship personnel. It was like a lower tier version of what we were trying to do on the Chansiri, bringing characters like David Jones and Alman Abdi in. The mentality that you bring these operators who have a mentality of getting out of this division or of a quality higher. Yeah. And it was pretty underwhelming. That was very much the season of I think the kind of joking, we can probably look in jokingly now, but I think there was very much a genuine appetite and enthusiasm on something like Al's talk for HMS Pistol League.
Yes. Well, the assumption is, and it's in the question, that we go down and we start winning some games. That's and actually you hear it from. We've been in that position a couple of times going down to League One. I think you really commonly hear it from Premier League teams going down. Yes, they're like, well, it's great because we'll be so much better than everybody. And sometimes, we're very much in a position where actually all three relegated teams could go back up, which would be a real shame if that happens. But that's a very real possibility. But other times,
and the great navigating crime with all what happens to parachute payments, which is they don't go to the Championship, they go to the Premier League teams, which is dog shit. Oh, it's a dog shit. Yeah. But anyway, that's something else for a different. That's a tale for a different time, isn't it?
Tale for a different time. But what almost has an even chance of happening is that you drop down and actually you're just losing games in a different league, and then the feeling that things could be better is even worse because losing in League One actually feels worse than losing in the Championship. So it's hard to know. It's better. Sometimes it's better the devil you know. I think the other factor, before we close the book on this, the other factor that's sort of worrying in terms of our future and is we just don't know where the chairman's at enthusiasm wise, what the point of this project was. Is he happy just to keep ploughing money in, all the money that he can find into the club as long as he's got his name on a stand and a shirt? Or was this about a kind of make a quick buck, get them to champion, get them out of the Championship and then sell them in the Premier League to somebody mega rich? If that was the intention, we're so far away from that. What does a relegation to League One do? Does that sort of re-inspire him? His money will go further in League One. Having a good budget to get out of League One will be much smaller than a good budget to get near to playoffs in the Championship. So maybe it has a positive impact. Maybe it has a negative one where he just feels like, well, I'm so far away from the goal of what I did, and this is just, I'm onto a loser here, so I'm going to put in as little money as possible. So it's hard to know. We also don't know whether Darren Moore will stay. I've been pleased with his performance by and large as manager, although weirdly for about half that time he's not actually been at the side of the pitch like a manager. We're led to believe he's involved, heavily involved still. So I think I could get excited for a League One project and climb aboard a second or third successive HMS Pistol League with some enthusiasm, but I'd like a few assurances before I leap on there.
Exactly. I want to say, maybe unsurprisingly, that I'm keeping the powder dry. How dry am I keeping it, Rich? Well, first I'm going to put it in a giant box, which is just full of those silica gel packets that I've been keeping from all my Amazon orders during the pandemic. I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to mail it to. I'm going to mail it to Black Rock Desert, which is where Burning Man is held, and it's just going to look like this kind of parcel in a Mad Max film. When it's there, it's going to party. It's going to take some MDMA. It's going to be fun. It's going to get on some art cars. That's how dry my powder is.
That sounds like some dry powder, Luke. Let's speed along to the match in hand. Let's do this. We laid out a sky perplexing lineup of a team with Palmer added to the back three, and then he was there in place of the injured Lees, and Callum Patterson rocking up at right wing back. So no recognised striker up top for the big occasion. We had Trumpy Bomb in the centre with Green and Harris sort of playing off him.
Jesus.
We also had the shared statistic of the fact that Knockout was playing against us, and Knockout has scored more goals against Wednesday than he has against any other team in league football. So a nice ominous little word in our ear as the game kicked off.
Regular Clinton Morrison.
A regular old Clinton Morrison.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're getting into it. This is happening. It's
I thought with the lineup, I was kind of glad to see Green playing again, and I had maybe misplaced decent hopes after his last performance. I did say at the time I could well be disappointed at that, though.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we saw Palmer instead of Urahide at the back replacing Lees. That was a little bit of ointment for me, I guess.
But this is isn't it the downside of utility that I just couldn't help thinking, and this is before the match.
Yeah, Palmer
at right wing back is one of our an asset to the side.
Mm-hmm.
He's providing balls. He's getting in the box.
Yeah.
So he can only play in one place, and I think I tend to agree.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer him there than Urahide. I think that's one of his best positions. Actually, is that right-sided centre back in a three.
Uh-huh.
But he can't. He also can't be then right wing back whipping crosses in. And
I don't know when you want to talk about this, because the interesting thing. So you just basically said I didn't really get a chance to see on my coverage. I think I may have joined the footage just a bit too late, just prior to kickoff today.
Yeah.
I saw what kind of flash score had to say about the lineup, but that's someone who's maybe very quickly kind of scrabbling this stuff together.
Yeah.
Who doesn't really have a great insight into it. So I can take that with a large pinch of salt. So I could look at the lineup and think, for where we are, for who's injured, for who's available, who's fit, I was like, it's fine.
Sky's assumption was that Harris would play right wing back.
That was my assumption as well. My assumption was that we were going to have Harris and Reach at wing backs. And
apparently Smith was very reticent to hand how the team was going to line up to spring this wondrous trap on them. Look out, we've got a barely mobile centre forward at right but wing back. Surprise.
Yeah. So I don't know when you want to say this. Maybe now's a good time, because I kind of made this revelation in the middle of the game, which is basically that we have such a lack of balance within the squad.
Yeah.
And that was completely converted to the 11 today. But I don't know. I was chatting with my oldest brother Andy, and he was saying, we still can't find, looking nervous, can't find a best 11. I'm like, yeah, that's fair, but I think it purely just reflects that there are so many holes and there's so many players who today I wish played in different positions.
Well, okay, so I think outside of a necessary change, a lot of the team has been fairly standard during this last run. The back three was stable until Lees got injured.
Yeah, which has made
the back five has been stable pretty much until Lees got injured.
Yeah, which I'm wondering now is like if that's the damnation is because
maybe
we've missed Lees so much that we've had to make changes.
Bannon and Pelupessy have more often than not been picked together in the middle. Windass has played every game up front, more or less.
Yeah, and I mean there's been a few missing cogs to the side of everything, but it's not been huge, I would say. I mean, compared to, it felt like we were fairly settled, at least in key parts of the field. But I mean, today just made me think that everybody fell out of position today.
It just didn't feel particularly comfortable at all, did it? I wonder if part of why Patterson's picked, well, one, he gives us extra height in both boxes, which is not to be sniffed at. This is a Chris Hughton side. It is full of big lads. He's a fan of Big Lad TM Inc. and all that they produce.
When he goes fishing, all he catches are whoppers.
But I wonder if partly Patterson gets the nod at right wing back because Palmer has had so many chances of late. And you're just thinking, well, if that's where the ball breaks, if that's where naturally, the problem is he's not Palmer in terms of his mobility.
Yes, well, that's what I was going to say. Like, that's kind of saying that basically anyone can get into those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot to be said about another character on the pitch, Julian Berners' knack for ability for getting into winning, and attacking positions in the final third. But
yeah,
unfortunately, it doesn't.
The opposition.
Well, there's that as well. But I mean, actually, he looks dangerous going forward until he breathes near the ball. Really, he gets into the positions, but he's crap with it when he gets there. So there's just such a huge imbalance in the squad, but B especially this team selection. Just I don't know. I am a bit sympathetic because we're missing so many options. Like I said, it's still a thing where it's like, hey, we don't have many centre backs. We don't have any natural centre back options. Hence, Hutchinson's there now. Hence, Palmer maybe at a push is a centre back, but I think that's really stretching his utility, and also I think he's great there. I like Palmer a lot in a lot of places. I'm going to be honest, but big miss at the wing back berth. Like you said.
I think as well, though, what shone was with our attacking options, everybody has a massive caveat or Achilles heel. Like there's a real reason that they play for Sheffield Wednesday and not a better team. Mm-hmm. And it's not, Achilles heel is quite a small thing and fairly easily defended. This is the equivalent as if like you're 90% heel and like 10% is what you're good. Well, I mean, we'll get into it, but today, Kadeem Harris has 10 moments to make things happen, make decisions, play a pass, have a shot, do something. And it's pea-brained nonsense again and again and again. He makes the worst possible decision at every single moment, but his mobility is fantastic. He's reading the space in behind. He's attacking the space in behind. We're finding him in behind. Mm-hmm. I don't know how many times he got between Christie and the right-sided centre-back. He did it again and again and again today. But what does he do? It's a rubbish shot. It's a spuffed cross. I don't know. There was one where he just sort of combusted and left-footed it like 10 feet out, 10 feet high in the air. And I don't know what it was supposed to be, whether it was a cross or a shot. It was just nothing. It was just a spasm.
Yeah.
It's just, and the same with, I think that's the same with like, I think Windass, Windass could be a great centre forward, but he's not tall enough or strong enough. So he can't lead the line, and he certainly can't lead the line against a back four that's almost entirely hefty centre backs.
Yeah.
Patterson is hit and miss. Rhodes has just no athletic ability anymore. It's completely. He looks like he's going backwards when he tries to run. And
though now, I mean, hindsight's 2020, but
I know.
I know, but it's just the nature of this season has been. The nature to me for this season has been no one ever really has earned a recurring starting shirt with any great aplomb.
No.
So that means it's kind of open season. It's open season to make any tactical decisions you need to make. So it's tough. But it's then also kind of underlines and probably, unfortunately, kind of writes off what I'm going to say next, which is I haven't seen anything from Kadeem Harris to make me think that he's worth persevering with in a starting berth.
No.
So it's so tough. It might be maybe the stuff we don't see on the training ground. Previously, I've been a fan of Kadeem Harris. Right now, he is completely all out of form and sorts. I don't think there's a position for him in what we're trying to do here.
It's almost an odds thing, isn't it, with him, I think? Because he is very quick, he's tireless, like he can still do that in the 90th minute. He's still got a burst of pace to take him away from people. So you're hoping, you've got, at this stage, we're picking him knowing he is going to make a mess more often than he does something good. But you're almost hoping that one time out of 10, he actually performs a basic function as an attacking player. And unfortunately, it's dropped below that 1 in 10. I think the golden patches early in the first season, we were getting maybe 2 or 3 out of 10. We are now getting. We'll be lucky if we get 1 in 20, 1 in 30.
But the problem is here, again, I don't know. We have to make. I think the problem has to be with this lineup and the situation is we have to decide and make decisions about where we're going to sacrifice some quality, which is hard to think because essentially, to some degree, a wing back is a degree of the spine for the defense. If you're going to kind of look at there's still a mentality. It's a 3-5-2, 5-3-2 when defending. So that's difficult there. I don't know, but again, we sacrificed because we centre backs. Dunkley's back, but he's not back properly. Apparently Liam Shaw's not a centre-back, though I think I'd maybe rather see him in a centre-back berth than anywhere else on the pitch right now. We're really seriously missing, as we said, Palmer at wing-back. I can see the mentality, like you said, that Patterson, but again, the lack of mobility. I think Patterson's a lot better through the centre, in the hole, or even the front, I'm going to say. And I think one of the biggest crimes of this game is missing Liam Palmer. Another crime is putting Reach in the wing-back berth because he's not a wing-back. And the problem is we need Reach to do his business at the front end, at the top end of the pitch. And he's got a degree of mobility, a little bit of pace. But
I don't mind him at wing-back. I think broadly it's one of the things that works more often than not. What it means is Burner is completely exposed and he is looking worse and worse every week at the moment. And I think it also probably leads to Bannon sitting too deep. I think Bannon sits in for Reach when he goes forward. And ideally you don't want Bannon being the man sacrificed there. So it sort of works, but is it worth the cost of when it works? If it works from occasionally, but it always causes other issues, then it's is it worth the gamble? So there's a not particularly good Michael Caine film where he plays Sherlock Holmes. It's called Without a Clue. But the best scene in the film is Sherlock Holmes and Watson. They write Moriarty's name on a board, and there's a kind of time lapse montage scene of them thinking up all these different, trying to solve the puzzle and solve the caper basically. And so the highlight of the movie is essentially this moment where drunk as a skunk, Michael Caine as Sherlock Holmes goes, "I've got it! His real name is Artie Morty!" And it doesn't solve anything. But that's almost what this lineup was like. Like they really thought they've come up with something clever. The fact that they hid it from Sky so that they could spring this brilliant trap on Forest. And it's like, yeah, but we could have played a striker, guys, couldn't we? I mean, there's a big game. I think playing a striker would probably be a good idea. Yeah. They've solved a conundrum that didn't need to be solved.
Yeah.
They've got within 5 of solving the sum on Countdown when it was a words round. That's what's happened today, I think. They've outthought themselves. So, should we get through to the kind of the happenings as they were?
I think so. I think there's another thing I kind of want to bring up as well that I just said. So here we are. It's currently as I'm saying this, just to kind of give you a bit of a timestamp. The second half, so the 3 p.m. games are now kicking off. It's 9:02 a.m. here in Calgary, Alberta, which means in British summertime it's 2 minutes past 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon. I said everything about this and the build-up has not helped Sheffield Wednesday. And it has a year of also being monumentally disappointing as a Sheffield Wednesday fan. So let's kind of look about all these. We're playing before the Derby County game, which is also televised. Now, I thought the whole thing was that you couldn't have a 3 p.m. kickoff, which is why we have this world of 12:30 p.m. kickoffs, which I absolutely detest because I feel like I'm a man who works pretty hard, and there's very little. The thing in my life, the thing that's been frustrating for me and a lot of people, is there's very little kind of release in this pandemic. So how is their 3 p.m. kickoff televised and ours is shunted to 12:30 p.m.?
From a competition standpoint, it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel right, but it also has this whole setting up of... It's a whole TV narrative that is set up to try and, to create some juice from this, because there's no top 6 berries to be had on TV in the Championship.
No,
because the top 6 is defined.
By the shouting, isn't it?
The promotion people are sorted. It's Watford and Norwich, and it's pretty much Norwich who've won the title. There's a mild question there as to what happens there, but it's really nothing worth covering. You might want to bring a TV just so you can have Norwich lifting whatever the EFL Cup is, whatever the heck it's called. So again, we've got that. We have the club providing a very well-touching, well put together, well observed silence to people that we've lost this year. And also on top of this, so it's all this build. It's the last home game. I don't know, did they cover on Sky? I don't think I got it because I had a very... Oh, and while we're talking, Derby have just taken the lead against Swansea.
Yeah.
You got that notification as well. Okay, well, it could be all...
It gets better!
It gets better, folks. I know that there was a very well-meaning and very, I think, very nice, I'm not going to say very nice intention because that sounds condescending and shitty, but I genuinely thought it was decent that some fans decided to, socially distance me and chant Hi-Ho Sheffield Wednesday outside the ground to show some support. Was that covered through Sky? Because I didn't get anything.
Didn't really see that. No, I didn't see that either.
That's a shame. That's a shame. I think that should have been something I got.
Maybe they can't be seen to encourage ad hoc gatherings.
Yeah, that's a shame because I felt there was probably an opportunity to have that kind of covered. And again, so now we've got the media blackout, which I'm not going to be critical about because I think it's important, but it's just, for a Sheffield Wednesday perspective, it's very badly timed. Like, this could be the day, this is, as it stands right now, as I'm speaking, this is the day it's all over. And it's just seen as, like, again, a silent moratorium on Sheffield Wednesday. Everything has been built up to this. And again, it's that problem that it's too big a stage for these players. I think a soapbox on a corner is too big a stage for a lot of these players. Like, it's fine for us to be nervous as fans. It reminds me of what you said about when we lost at home at Hillsborough 4-2 to the Pigs. And you said that moment, where Wednesday equalised to make it 2-2, and then minutes later it's 3-2 to Sheffield United.
Yeah.
And you said, us as fans, we can celebrate this.
Yeah.
You can't as players. You have a job to do.
Yeah.
And it's just thick in the air around Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. And I don't know if it's something that can be surgically extricated or something that can be ameliorated with whoever is the manager to kind of get this in the go. But it's just severely lacking that hey, we keep telling players it's a big event, or they know it's a big event, and they just shit themselves.
Yeah.
Very scared, very nervous performance today.
It's so many overhit passes, so many strange decisions, so many players doing and trying things that you just know they don't even do on the training pitch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know necessarily that a kind of minute by minute. I don't know. I mean, it's sort of what we do in a way, but it's also feels strange to do in light of the fact that well and truly the water is around our knees in terms of to use our nautical imagery again. No matter how fast we're chucking the buckets out, it's still rising.
Well, there's being at sea in a regal ship in a very kind of very enheartening as an Englishman's like master and commander style presentation. And there's also doing a doggy paddle in a flooded basement.
where Gary Monk swore to you beforehand that he did patch up that hole that was in the bottom. No, it's done. No, don't worry about it. No, sorted. And then as soon as
that's it. Gary Monk is the biggest wide boy builder, bigger than JB Developments, who sponsored Luton Town. That's what I figured out what they did. I was talking with a friend of mine.
Oh.
Do you remember that? Do you remember we were like, what the hell do those guys do? They are builders.
Okay.
Fine. How about you that's fine. That's not, I'm not going to say anything negative about that. That is a fine profession. You do essential, needed work, and hopefully you get paid very well in the process of doing it. Fine. You're doing a big service to people. How about you tell us what you're doing in an advert instead of looking like you, I don't know.
Don't worry, I've got a Land Rover. That's what the advert was basically getting across. I'm doing not too bad. This is my wife. Isn't she beautiful?
I'd want more idea of the work you do on a conservatory than rather getting the idea that, I don't know, you're trafficking immigrants or something like this. Jeez. Anyway. So yeah, Gary Monk, dodgy builder. Shouldn't you be fixing the Sheffield Wednesday squad rather than shagging my wife, Gary?
Confessions of a dodgy builder.
Oh, there we go.
Oh dear. So I mean, the first Harris missed opportunity was about 10 minutes in. Windass played a lovely ball through to him, and he looked like he was trying to do his classic sort of curl it round the outside of the goalie and the post and curl it just wide. He didn't get any curl on it, so he just hit it straight at the keeper. And that sort of set the tone for his whole day, really. Mm-hmm. There were 3 or 4 choices at every moment, and he insisted on taking a 5th one. Patterson had a decent header on a decent opportunity, but he sort of hit his chest rather than getting a header anywhere near it on the 25th minute. That was sort of Bannon flicking it through to Reach, who hit that first time cross. Harris had lots of moments in behind. Burner had lots of mistakes. Burner, it's weird. He seems to have got into this habit of like he'll do something good, and then the misappropriated confidence of doing the good thing immediately leads him into a much worse error. Because there was a point where he looked like he was in a bit of a panicky situation. I think maybe Westwood had played him the ball and Reach was covered off, and and he had a defender approaching quite quickly, and you were thinking like this is a bit of a scary moment. He just sort of dropped his shoulder and calmly sort of sauntered out of it, and that was nice. But then when he had all the time in the world and looked upfield, he just passed it straight to Garner. Mm-hmm. He just sort of seemed to do that again and again. Mm-hmm. Harris, again, another sort of moment that summed up his game. 43rd minute, he got the ball on the halfway line, driving forward at their defence. There was options down the middle. There was options to the left. Patterson was in loads of space on the right. We could see that there was just a very, very easy pass. And he chooses to shoot from 30 yards out. I would be surprised if he ever in training scores from 30 yards out or hits the target. He's never done it in a Wednesday shirt. He's never even looked close to doing it. He's a man who cannot hit a ball properly. So an audacious thing to try, and absolutely the worst decision he possibly could have made of everything. He could have slid it through to Windass, who had a shot on goal. That was a difficult pass, but then the left, as I say, he had reached to the left and Patterson to the right. But of all those options, he thumps it straight at the defence.
Do you think it's severely irresponsible of him to make that decision? And that's
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a cowardice thing, like a kind of hiding in plain sight sort of thing. Like you try the thing that's got very little chance of working because then you can't. It's not your fault if it goes wrong.
I think he's a man who's lacking a lot of confidence.
But he's never been the best at decision making. That's at the heart of it, the core of it.
2020, but like, I think I'd rather have Kachunga in that role.
It's funny how little he's played, really.
Yeah, well, that's a disappointing thing. Is the whole thing that is, I'm saying that if it's open season on position, it's because no one's showing any great form. Then why not Kachunga? Why not Deli Bashuru?
Yeah,
I haven't been. Liam Shaw had this fantastic, seemingly very brief supernova explosion of a star.
Yes,
but he's been pretty absent for quite a while.
Yeah, it's interesting. Deli Bashiru he was looking bright before he got murked by, was it a Bristol City player that he got fouled against?
Yeah.
Or Bournemouth, I think it was actually Bournemouth.
Yeah, that was.
He looked like he was possibly going to be the guy to sort of turn the tide of the game for us, but he's not had a sniff since. Green, by the way, in all this hasn't been mentioned because he did absolutely sod all. And how many times has that happened this season where somebody does okay as a cameo off the bench or does okay one game? Great, that's another position sorted. We can build around that, and then nothing.
Yeah, but I don't know. But that's a difficulty, and especially like seeing so much of Harris in that position because I'd much rather seeing Green on the end of those.
But he didn't make the runs. We tried that. We swapped them over. He just doesn't look interested to me, Green. He just plods it out.
Such unfortunate.
To not touch the ball ever.
Well, to be a character who's taken off for Rhodes in the second half, I mean...
But then Rhodes did a lot more than him almost instantaneously.
But then did more by missing more of those again. He's good at getting into the positions, but he can't do it. Like it's the Wednesday problem, right? It's Palmer, it's Burner. Oh, I can get there. I'm really good at getting there. Can you do the next bit? No, I can't. Okay, so that is better, but I would much rather have seen... I thought Harris was dreadful today.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, Green was anonymous. This is the problem. Do you want... My brother, and he was like, Joey Pelopessi's doing quite well today. I'm like, I genuinely haven't noticed. But again, it's like a referee. Like I've said this before. If a referee's unnoticed, he's probably doing a good job.
Same with Pelopessi. But I suppose that's the thing with Green, that swapping Green into that position and hoping that it's like we know now. So what Harris proved, so yes, Harris had a very bad game, an unproductive game. But what Harris did really well was stretch them and find that space in behind the right-sided centre-back again and again and again. Now, it's his fault that he didn't do anything with it. But Green was drafted across there. He had 10, 15 minutes where basically the team is saying to him, we think you've got better quality than Harris. That we know there's a space in behind him. So if you do those same runs, you've watched him do it for half an hour. If you do those same runs, you'll have fun in that space. He did nothing. He didn't. He just wanders about. Hugely, for me, hugely disappointing. I'd rather have Harris who tries. It's more frustrating, but he gets the chances. But you're right. We like do horses for courses, but nobody's got the same abilities. There's literally nobody else in the squad that could do what Harris did today. But unfortunately, once he gets there and has the chance, he's the worst person maybe in the squad for it because he's got no composure whatsoever. So you'd want Kachunga or Green to have those chances, but neither of them are quick enough, clever enough, or work hard enough to get the spaces.
They've been listening to the opposite of Craig David's debut album. They're all born to not do it.
Born to not do it. Born to wander about. I was going to meet a girl on Monday, but I just couldn't be bothered.
If he will take 7 days to score a goal. But we've only got 90 minutes, lads.
So to round off an inauspicious first half, things took a turn for the absolute bizarre as Westwood tried to sort of curl a plummeting pass into reach, put him in a strange situation, and his reaction just absolutely beggars belief as Adam Reach, not known as one of the great headerers of the ball, decided what he would pull off was a 35-yard header back to Westwood with several, across the front of the goal, with several opposing players between him and the ball. And do you know what? It didn't work. Funnily enough, what he essentially did was play a through ball to Knockhart, and Knockhart said, "Thank you very much." Westwood compounded the mistake, his first mistake, with his classic weird starfish jump, clearing Knockhart out, and conceding a penalty. I mean, the silver lining was he saved that penalty. It was a bad penalty and it was a good save. Wacky. What a wacky end to the half. Is there any more to share? Anything to share?
I've got a lot of notes from the first half.
For the first half?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of, there are some comments about some of the bits of play, but there's also some other pithy notes, as I usually do.
How did just on
Swansea
that?
have equalised.
Just on that incident. Oh yeah, that's nice. That we get to have vague hope for a moment longer. Just on that incident, how did Westwood not get a yellow?
I don't know.
I'd love the referee to explain why or how he avoided a yellow. Anyway, sorry, go on. You're working through your...
other things that kind of build up that, that big moment of everything that we have today and everything just being a big stage and being disappointed. The pitch was looking really slick. There was some really lovely garish video game green on the pitch today.
Interestingly, they said the pitch wasn't looking its best on Sky, so I don't know whether it looks nice from the gantry, but less good pitch level. But
interesting. And it was a beautiful day for us as well. Nice sunny day. So
several players had their top button unbuttoned, which will make a big difference.
Did you know I got from my commentary stat, whoever the guy was who was, didn't really give much of a fuck, but he did a job, to be fair, which is sometimes better than some of the other commentators I've had this season.
Yeah.
Only Coventry have scored fewer goals than Wednesday from corners this season.
Wow.
I said a damning stat, but then so many corners look like I have no concept of what a corner is this season until Moore turned up.
Yeah.
Bar, if I can seem to remember one that Reach scored. Was it against Swansea? Away. It was away at Swansea. And it was the one of the few goals we scored under Tony Pulis. Not
to speak ill of the dead, but I do think with Tom Lees is somebody who has a particularly disappointing goal return from set pieces. He attacks the ball really well and gets chances really well, but very, very rarely scores.
He's still been outscored by Julian Spurner.
Yeah, but he must have scored most of them, I would have thought.
Burner's got 2, hasn't he? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
He's, looking a candidate for playing up front.
No, Luke, it's going to get worse. Swansea are winning now. The tension is
there we go. So that means
considerably increased.
That means I don't get to lie in next week. Fuck.
This is what it all comes down to.
It's another Saturday I'm going to be giving up.
Well, there's a long time left.
A long time left. Got like 20 odd minutes, I guess, and then probably half an hour with stoppage time.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
We can be like Soccer Saturday and be like, and there's 9 minutes of stoppage time at the Liberty Stadium.
A very small cheer goes up from the tiny compatriots from
Ironically, an owl flew onto the pitch. They couldn't get it off. They just couldn't get it off for like 10 minutes. Real Sopranos type writing in this EFL season. I said Forest look like they're working remotely on the beach and not a bad effect. So I'm gonna say,
yeah,
they've managed to tether their mobile phones. They've got a good data package on the phones.
Indifference is a nice place to play football from.
I guess so. What did you think about? Do you reckon that Forest maybe should have had a penalty earlier in the first half on the 8th minute for Windass giving a handball?
I think it would have been really harsh.
Was a handball there? I mean, hilariously, we actually tried to claim for one later in the game where Windass actually struck into someone's hand.
Yes. I just think your hands have got to go somewhere. At the end of the day, unfortunately, we're beings with 4 appendages. Well, maybe more. Depending on the XY chromosome.
Looking at you, Callum. I thought it's hilarious that we then went on the break from that with some really great movement and played it into Harris, and then that was the first of it from Harris. He had a really weak effort.
Yeah, that was
Samba got too easily. I said Harris even disappointing for his standard.
Yes, yeah.
I noticed on the 14th minute Harris was fouled in their half, and then for some reason we played the free kick quickly, and I'm like, to no benefit, to just mill it around near the touchline.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great moment. I don't know if you mentioned this, the 25th minute, there was a cross that went over.
Yeah.
That was some excellent one-touch work. That was the one with the kind of lovely, quick one-touch back heel from Bannon.
Yeah, well, Bannon did that sort of, flick back heel into Reach's path, and Reach hit it first time.
And then that was Patterson kind of going onto it, but he didn't really compete for the header very well.
It was sort of strange. I wonder if he if he mistimed it or something, because they praised the defender, the one defender that happened to not be 6'4", Ribeiro. They said, he's jumped into the man. I didn't really see that. I just saw that Patterson didn't just stick his head down on it. He was there. It was a bit lower than he was expecting, and he just seemed a bit surprised by it hitting his chest.
Yeah. Memories was weekly losing at their place midweek this season. Forgot they've got bloody knockouts, I said. Perfect Wednesday villain. Though I did manage to temper my note. I said they were good while since he's been a potent one. ... Still time though. So I think I managed to save that. I think I managed to save that one, Rich. Patson got very angry about a throw-in. He didn't win. He got really grumpy about that one.
Which looked totally like it came off him as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was angry mad.
33rd minute, Graben doing exceptionally casual knife full pitch run kind of sums up how bad this season has been.
Yeah.
Just no
pressure on him at all.
No, you just go run the length of the pitch, mate. Jeez. And I thought there was an offside on Windass on the 39th minute, which was really harsh.
I agree. I thought that was harsh. It's interesting. So just to mention Graben. So we talk about Rhodes in these hushed tones, and this great goal scorer, legendary. But just to show you how, I think probably how poor he's been since he joined us. Really, is a mark of that as much as anything. Graben's only 16 goals off Rhodes. Rhodes has got 116, and Graben's got 100 at championship level.
And they've both got about the same amount of goals this season, because I was listening to the excellent Alison Merricust, and they were doing a preview of Forest, and they were saying the top goal scorer for Forest is Graben, with 6 goals.
Right. But I don't think we talk about Graben being a legendary, terrifying goal scorer.
No.
I think he's a very good player.
He's a very good player. I wonder if that's... It's a really interesting question. But I don't think... I don't think Graben's never had a staggeringly amazing season like Jordan Rhodes, right?
I know. I suppose that's what I think. I'm just saying that it probably shows how far Rhodes has fallen off his usual in terms of goal returns.
I don't really know enough about. It's interesting about Graben because he's always been a player I feared and always wanted. He's had a very up and down roller coaster career, hopping around a number of places. He was at Rotherham, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. I think that's where the sort of infatuation maybe started.
But then he's had a moment of kind of hopping around championship clubs. I don't think he's a man who has lacked any great signing on fee.
No, certainly not.
And I don't know, maybe that's a really unfair thing to say about him as a person and a character, but there's very much a feeling of someone who's been a bit cutthroat, kind of moving around for his career to get those kind of moves. But then he never seems to stick around. He never seems to... Has he been a Premier League player, or has he been on the books of a Premier League side and then been disbanded?
It's a little bit hard to tell, because when did Bournemouth go? He played for Bournemouth until... But then he didn't really play for Bournemouth. He was at Bournemouth 2016 to 2018. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that he's played much, if any, Premier League football. But it's just, I suppose it's just as interesting because, like, Rhodes has this status of almost, despite the fact he's had at least four terrible years in a row, there's this kind of almost Voldemort-esque, don't say his name, or, you might summon him kind of thing about this great championship goal scorer, Jordan Rhodes. And the fact that over the course of a career, unless Jordan now suddenly has a wonderful, swoosh at the end, where he's a sudden upswing or gets a surprising job next season, you're looking at over the course of all these years, Graben is going to have a very similar goal record to him, and it's just interesting because I like Graben. I like all of his game. Graben, he's not a Johnny on the spot goal scorer, but he's a very good footballer. It's just sort of I just find it intriguing that there's only 16 goals separating them at this stage, and one of them's this like incredible. We'll speak about him for years to come.
Graben's had like a very good early career. Basically kind of curtailing off in the 15-16 season with Norwich.
He got 20 goals last year.
And then he's like the end of his season. Sorry, I was going to say his latter career, because then he had, I think he was on the Sunderland Till I Die documentary, right? Because he was, wasn't he?
Maybe.
The 17.
Well, he got 12 goals for Sunderland in the Championship.
Yeah, but he hopped off. That's the same season. I think he hopped off to Villa, I think in the January window. I think he was a bit like, I don't really want to be here for this. So he hopped off, and then that's where he's been.
So they were both loans?
Yes.
Loans out from Bournemouth. Okay, interesting.
And then he's gone to Forest. And that's a very, very good return. So that's what I'm saying, his mid-career's been a bit stumbling. But I think because maybe even missing essentially what it looks like here, 2 seasons, which... in the great drop of his career isn't that much, but there's a lot to be said for momentum when you're a forward and when you're scoring goals and creating a name for yourself. But even with that dip he still had a very consistent career, goal return wise, at this level. But yeah, very interesting that we're not talking about him in the same media that Jordan Rhodes had. But mind you, Jordan Rhodes did have a season where, what was it? Was it 40 goals?
Yeah, I do appreciate. I do appreciate Rhodes has. It's an earned title. It's just the person that the man that exists and runs around the football pitch now is so far removed.
11-12. That was that season for Huddersfield. 37 goals in 43 games. Insane.
Yeah,
albeit League One, but
albeit
still.
in League One.
But then going to Blackburn in the Championship for a hefty.
I'm getting. I mean, look at that: 27 Championship goals, 25, 21. It's just been it's took an absolute nosedive since 2015.
Well, even 2015, I'd say. Well, 2016, because I mean, still, it was disappointing for them when he went to Middlesbrough, but I mean, still 16 goals in 43 games across Blackburn and Middlesbrough. Still a decent return. It's tailing off. It's tailing off from his 20th season that he had consistently for 3 years.
His record on Wednesday is just so awful.
I know, it's so terrible.
Oh my goodness. There's a lot of appearances there still.
And 7 goals this season, which is his highest. 1 more than he scored for Norwich.
Wow.
Yeah, he's fallen off a long way. What's the Fatboy Slim album? You've come a long way, baby. You've fallen off a long way, baby.
It's a lot. Well, I think since he arrived with us, it's a lot more like I'm number one, so I try harder.
Maybe the guy on the front cover of that Fatboy Slim album would have more mobility than Jordan Rhodes. Anyway, not to body shame the chap, but there we go.
No.
I felt a let off on the 42nd minute. They had a really slick move going forward, but it didn't really come to much. Do you remember when they kind of swung over?
Yeah.
What I was just saying about Forest is like they look okay, but they're just very much probably much like Wednesday. They're kind of like Wednesday in a lot of ways. They don't score many goals. They have very little teeth going forward.
Well, this was particularly I thought for big spells of the second half, this was a very Houghton-y performance. His teams do not excite very often. It's about getting a nice, solid defence in place, getting a couple of players that like to fall over, and the length of their stays on the floor will depend on how the game's going, because he loves killing momentum and killing flow from a game. He just loves bitty, nasty, dirty games of football is what Houghton builds his career on, really. And he tried that second half of just constantly hitting the deck. Cafu, just all he did was lie on the floor, I think. Anyway, sorry.
Did we? I mean, sorry, I'm not sure where the narrative you kind of got to before. Do you feel like you finished your notes for the first half?
For the first half, I think I'm done. Yeah.
It's a really great save from Westwood, though.
It was a good save. Yeah. I've never seen such an intense. He was so determined to save it. He really. I mean, rightly so, because it was his own stupid fault.
The disappointing thing for this again was I said, good save. It's a big moment. Oh, that was hilarious. I mean, I'd be pissed off if I was Chris Houghton, who never looks like he particularly loses his rag a great deal. Seems a very measured man. Very much, maybe kind of subtly reminds me of Gustavo Fring in Breaking Bad. Kind of like a measured menace.
Yes.
Maybe he's got a bit of that going on. I loved how Forrest didn't get to take the resulting corner.
No. I also think that I think that's fair enough, but I also think it hurt us a little bit as well, because actually saving a penalty quite often gives the team who saved it a boost.
Well, that's the
thing.
We
didn't get to have any of that experience either, because quite often you're like it's almost like scoring a goal.
Yeah.
And there's a push and an intensity after that. And we didn't get to have any of that either, really, because of the half-time whistle.
But I thought that would have been a bit like, again, like you said, but that feeling of scoring a goal, because I thought it would have been the feeling of scoring a goal before half-time. It would have been for Forest had they bagged it.
How often does that produce a good start to the second half? Normally it's worse.
You reckon?
Wednesday. Wednesday is normally worse, because it's like, okay.
Again, maybe that's more... I was hoping that was going to be a big pivotal change moment at half-time and we step it up. I said,
I thought we did come out quite bright.
Mate. I genuinely thought the opposite. I thought Forest looked pretty damn bright in the second half. Beginning of it, well, definitely that first 5 minutes, it was theirs.
I thought the first 5 were ours, and then they had their chances. But because I thought Harris had another 2 opportunities within 5 minutes, he'd had another 2 chances in behind. He did nothing with them, but they didn't amount to anything. But that's what that's what he does. The winger that doesn't get you off your feet, you just sit down. Stay sat down. No, he's getting really close to the goal now. Nah, still staying sat down. Do you want to lead off second half?
They're like, Rich, why is your posture so bad? I'm like, he was on the ball so much that I just slouched down.
Yeah, just got slumped further and further and further into the seat.
Don't know how Rich managed it with the small spacing that he has his seat on the cop, but he managed to do it. Say that. Regular contortionist over here.
Contortionist, yeah.
Mm.
If you watch enough Kadeem Harris, you can get yourself into a suitcase.
46 minute. Well, I guess that's true actually. But then, like I said, Reach did so well to get forward and reverse passing Harris. That was nice. But then he just pulled it across really tamely.
Yeah.
And blocked, and it was out for a Wednesday throw.
Yeah.
49th minute. My comment is, we're really working hard to get next Saturday off, aren't we? Horrendously shit back pass. Was that from Burner?
Oh yes. Yeah. So Reach got closed down first, didn't he?
Mm.
And then Burner blindly hit such a... That was the weird thing. This is our pitch, and we're the ones that play the slow passes on it. Like, the ball is not running particularly nice and true on the pitch. It's running quite slowly. But it's us playing the short passes to each other. It's not the opposition. They know... Because it's not... This is not high-level physics. If it's running a bit slow, hit it a bit harder. And the other opposition seem to just get that you can just hit it a bit harder and it'll be fine. But we roll it about to each other and constantly cause difficulties for ourselves. And yeah, set up one of those weird scrambles where, again, Westwood madly charged out from his goal.
Was it Artie Moira or whatever it is?
Artie Morty. Yeah. I was waiting for him to give away another penalty because what he tends to do once he charges out then is fling himself at the player, regardless of whether he can get the ball. But luckily, Graben took the choice out of his hands and hit a bad shot that went straight into the side netting.
I thought Westwood had the angle covered.
Maybe.
So, he
was doing a lot.
Graben takes a few touches and tucks it into the side netting.
Hopefully, one of the things he was doing was covering the ankle.
Casual and dog shit. My commentator said it's a match they've got to win, and they're doing everything to lose it.
Oh dear! Oh, that is damning, but unfortunately, quite true.
Very true, yeah.
So we then made our big change, our only change today. We didn't do our usual plethora. But Rhodes came on for Green, and that meant Windass sort of went out to the wide right up top. And fairly early on, got himself a chance. Jordan Rhodes, middle of the goal, free header. What's that, sorry?
You sound a bit cockney there. Fairly early on.
Charlie, here he is. Jordan Rhodes has had another. The ball's come over. He's in the middle. What does he do? Pass it back to the goalkeeper. Him and Samba go way back. So he dollied him up a lovely, lovely little pass back. There you go, my old cocker. 71 minutes, I think, probably is our best effort of the game, where Windass sort of followed a bit of a lost cause in behind, a sort of stray ball over the top and forced a really good save out of Samba at his near post. Just from the basic fact that he looked up and there were no options, so he just hit it as hard as he could at the goal.
He whammed it, didn't he?
He did. And then from the resulting corner, one of Bannon's worst on a bad day for Bannon generally, he just again, like Jordan Rhodes, taking Jordan Rhodes' lead, just passed it to the goalkeeper from the resulting corner. So all momentum lost once again. 77th minute, another massive let-off because Garner was just stood. You just think he's just going to pick his spot and score, and somehow sort of slipped over and poked it out of play, bundled it out of play. That was a big let-off. 83rd minute, Windass, great play again, cuts it back for Rhodes, who sort of did that nonchalant side foot into the corner thing, but it didn't work because there was a player between him and the corner. Fell to Reach, and Reach just put his head down and thumped it as hard as he possibly could, hoping to either sort of catch a bit of a defender or an attacker on the way in, or maybe the inside of the post, but sadly it just went straight out.
Rotherham just equalised.
All right, there we go. They've got a dog in the fight still as well. I don't know if that's what I mean. Fighting the dog. I don't know. I think I've mixed a metaphor and it's ended up with one that's really awful and harrowing and alludes to dog fights, which I didn't want to. Don't do that, folks.
I've always said you're the Michael Vick of this podcast, Rich.
Exactly. Where are we? 84th minute. Some good smart pressure. Ensured that the ball broke to Bannon, who teed up Rhodes for a chance from outside the box. I can't decide. I mean, he took the shot on, which is brave. He didn't do very well with it. Should he have maybe held on to it and waited to see what developed? What did you think of that chance in particular? Not a glaring miss, because obviously it was a long way out, but it's just, could he have made a better use of the moment?
Probably. He didn't know.
No, he didn't. No. 93rd minute, a huge moment as Harris is hauled over by Knockhart inexplicably, sort of on the edge of the box, almost a penalty, but not quite. Took a yellow for his troubles. He's one of those players that if he plays like he does against us, it's amazing that he doesn't have like Hutch-esque numbers of yellow cards, because he's
a dirty boy, isn't he?
He's the quintessential pain in the backside.
He's a dirty boy.
There's discussion over the ball. Is Bannon going to take it? Harris going to take it? And then absolutely flabbergasted that such an important moment is left in the hands of a player who's had truly one of the worst performances I've seen all year. And Harris produced exactly the sort of strike. If I had to draw it beforehand, I would have done what he did. It was awful. Terrible free kick. Why was Windass nowhere near it? As far as I remember, he's the only player that scored from a free kick him and Reach have scored from free kicks. I don't know why Bannon and Harris are scored over it.
I thought Bannon was going to put it over and we were going to try and go for a header.
Yeah. Well, that could have worked, or a shot from Bannon.
Well, I mean, it would have been better than Harris doing what Harris did.
Yeah, anything
would have, but that probably still would have been. That still would have led to his moaning about it on this podcast.
Probably.
You know, because in that situation, edge of the box, Reach, Windass.
Yeah.
Why those two weren't back for that? Don't know.
I really don't understand.
Know. And I don't know why Harris thought, right, time
should have tried to run a very similar routine to the one Reach scored from against Cardiff. Doing the opposite of that, where Windass takes the shot, would have been what to do in that situation, I would have thought.
Would have been better.
But anything that either resulted in the ball staying in the box or a shot on target would have been better.
I'm just imagining you as, in this kind of colour commentary role, just the old days of drawing on screens.
What he's going to do here is he's going to call it. He's going to call it where it's not even going to get to the near post. It's going to be called too tight, and it's going to be about 6 feet too high. That's what he's about to do. You look at the way his body language is, the sort of game he's had so far, and the likelihood is this will be a spuffed free kick.
Truly giving the gravitas it deserves to be something from Scottish League One.
Yeah, and or maybe Andy Gray.
Now on BBC Arbroath, Sports Scene, Richard Miller.
I was going for that or maybe Andy Gray, but I didn't make any sexist comments. Look at the ass on that. There was one last moment. Once again, Jordan Rhodes holds the fate of this team in his hands. And once again, he dollies up. This was a difficult chance. Certainly very difficult when you go with your head. It looked much easier to volley or control, but Reach played a good cross into him. And he just dollied up the most delicious little Hollywood catch for Samba in goal in the 94th minute. Yeah, once again, the fallacy of he doesn't get. He'll score if he gets chances is laid bare.
So much of this was all the. So much of this was the. The rejects, the outtakes, I should say, from the first Star Wars, and it's every time that Luke Skywalker didn't make that shot. It's the opposite of good shot. That's 1 in a million. Just cuts back to Han Solo being like, no.
Why did you turn your monitor off? What it's designed for? I was using the phone. That's Jordan.
Just Jordan Rhodes being like. It's just like shooting Womp Rats on Tatooine.
Oh dear. Oh, we've gone giddy because Swansea have completed it.
It's full time. It's full time, Liberty Stadium.
Oh, it's we're D-Mob happy as a result.
And there's been a whistle blown at the Liberty Stadium. But which way is it going?
Oh, it's full time. It's full time. Jeff, he's still full time, by the way. He's still full time. Just calling him in the night. It's 2 a.m., mate. Just so you know. They still lost. I just but my well, we'll go through your notes, but my final sort of post-match comments. Bannon interview post-match looks and sounds like he's been crying. I know the feeling. And then Monk sloughs off any blame with banal nonsense and no self-awareness at all in the studio. Such a strange experience to see a man that is well and truly at the heart of the trial of why has this season gone so terribly wrong. We'd certainly spent a good week interviewing Gary Monk on all of his various failings, but so strange to have him in the studio, just kind of God mode, looking over everything like he has no impact on it whatsoever.
I'd love to we need to get him on the podcast, Rich.
just to wash his hands live.
Yeah.
Not my fault. Too coy for it to be my fault. Any more notes from yourself on that second half?
Really bad substitution. I mean, I can see a mentality of saying Green was bad, which I get, but really damning that John Rhodes brought on the 54th minute. Such an unbalanced squad. One of the notes, such an underwhelming performance given the circumstance.
Yeah.
Fear of the big stage, performance anxiety. Maybe Sheffield Wednesday needs to be brought to you by Blue Chew. I'm also going to say,
cut out the middleman. Just go straight for Viagra.
There we go. Speaking of naughty things, Nottingham Forest brought to you by Boxt, the worst name for a company.
Yeah,
the name anywhere remotely near. I have a thing about the term box because it just unfortunately reminds me of a woman's vagina. The crass name for a woman's vagina.
Unfortunately, reminds you. Just
one of the things you would never ever say to a member of the opposite sex.
And in the face of it, you make the same sort of decisions same quality of decisions that Kadeem Harris does.
And Boxed with a T. I mean, it's sticking in my brain because it's awful.
Boilers, apparently.
Boilers, okay. Just awful. Awful sponsorship.
Yeah, what they should have is the chairman's surname, big and bold. Loyalty. Stupid Nottingham Forest with their money-making schemes.
Chancery makes me think about a really quality leisure wear company. I'm also getting inspiration for a really, really reliable and conscientious taxi service. What else? Pace but no urgency. That's something I said. Is there anything else? No, I think you covered all of them. Just a comment just before he came on. Commentator said Lyle Taylor hadn't scored in 26 league games.
Wow. I do really feel, because we've seen him twice now, I really feel we dodged a bullet on Lyle Taylor.
He's been a bit of a busted flush, hasn't he?
He looks like he should be really good.
Yeah, he looks that way. It was weird with him, wasn't it? Because, I mean, they were like, oh, he didn't want to play, he didn't want to sign a new contract, he didn't want to play after the post-lockdown for Charlton because he knew he was off. Similar tones to Stephen Fletcher, but just, it felt very much for him like this is his big day.
Yeah.
And there seemed to be talk of him going to Turkey, to like Galatasaray. So it seemed to be like something like that. And he ends up at Forest, who fundamentally, big club.
Yeah.
But still doesn't feel like a big gear change. Wasn't a big gear change to kind of stick your nose up at Sheffield Wednesday,
So there was a bit of a narrative of they're headed for a big overhaul in the summer. Have they had a takeover this season? Is that the idea?
No idea.
No
idea.
It was just like, he likes the back four, but he doesn't really like anything else, and he's going to have a big overhaul in the summer. And I think he sort of said as much in his pre-match comments.
Right.
Like it's about these players showing what they can do before the big turnaround in the summer.
Whip out my Gustavo Fring hatchet.
Yes. Wow. So the bottom of the table now looks wild.
Yep. I think the only game's still going as we speak right now. Wickham are winning against Bournemouth 1-0, which I'm sure
which puts them on 40 points as well.
Yeah, but their goal difference.
Their goal difference is terrible, but
they're pretty much done, to be honest.
But still, they've done well to. Congratulations to Ainsworth to not fail quite as badly as everybody expected them to.
Could you imagine a situation? This could happen.
Where they scored 37 goals.
Oh no, like 3 teams could be ended up on 43 points.
Well, yeah.
It'd be relegated.
That could easily happen, couldn't it?
Mm-hmm. If Rotherham match 43, they're good because that goal difference.
That goal difference is pretty considerable.
Unless we just whip out our big Callum Patterson tallywhackers against Derby.
So we'd need a Cardiff plus, wouldn't we? To
we'd need a Cardiff plus, as they say, yeah.
But then Rotherham would have to win, so they have to win at least 1-0. So they're at the very least they are 44-59. They're 5 goals.
Yeah, one win from the remaining 2 games they have because they've got their midweek game against Luton.
Yes,
we've got to hope JB Development does us a favour.
Yeah, sat 12th. They've won the last 2 games. They're actually in good form.
So there's still that is good. I mean, there's still hope that I will get to have a lie-in next week.
It could still. I love that's still your main purview on this. But what about my lie-in?
Reg?
But what about it? Oh, so if we hadn't, this is where you do have to, we've talked about the players and their failings. The players have had a season good enough for safety, but the chairman couldn't get the paperwork in time. So without that points deduction, we would be safe at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another way to look at things, just in terms of doling out dollops of blame. Gary Monk well and truly deserves some time in the witness box, but I think Mr. Chancery will be the focus of the crimes. the punishment doled out at the end.
Exact more.
Oh, rough. So
with a draw for the format of different gravy, as you know, we used to go through all the players, and I enjoyed doing it. But I'm going to be honest, I had that surgical procedure at the beginning of the year, Rich, which was having all my enthusiasm removed for Sheffield Wednesday. So typically we'll do it. If we win, it's a hero of the piece. If we lose,
yes,
it's a villain of the piece. And we draw on one of the lesser spotted Sheffield Wednesday draws of this season.
Well, did anybody stand out positively today?
Stand out positive. I've got to give some kudos to Westwood for that penalty save. I think if you're looking, he must be up there in the MOM territory, right? Do
you get reward for you making up for your own mistake?
Well, I would have put more blame at the feet or the head of Adam Reach, I should say.
I think Reach definitely deserves a hearty portion of blame, but it's another Westwood situation where he absolutely did not need to. So if
it's an extra large dominoes of blame, Rich, and it's 12 slices, many slices of blame is it's your boys Reachy and Westy?
Well, I think Westwood gets slices at both. You know, if you're working round the pie clockwise, Westwood gets the first slice or two because that pass was truly bizarre into Reach. So he's the patient zero of this mistake. He makes the first mistake. He's the first cop on the train. Adam Reach then sneezes in the face of everybody. So he definitely is a super spreader event of a person. And then Westwood rounds the whole thing out with the dreadful unnecessary star jump. He's really not good one-on-one. He nearly always gives away penalties one-on-one. I don't know. He was so vociferously claiming for something, and I have no idea what it was.
I don't know. He was still angry about it after the event, wasn't he? That was
because he didn't get anywhere near the ball, and it was definitely in the box. I just cannot fathom what he was complaining about. Okay, so in terms of the pizza, I think the first two slices go to Westwood. Adam Reach gorges himself on the next 8, and then Westwood eats the last 2 to complete the feast of error. So kind of 8-4 to so 1/4 portion for Westwood and 3/4 portion for Reach. But it was a great save.
It was a great save. So okay. So maybe would you say it's negligent?
I suppose it's regardless of where the error came from, it's game over if we lose. And that goal was the
most. Westwood, as my name is Earldit. He's made up for his wrongs.
Yeah. It's a bit like Woodward with the Super League thing. Sort of, he's taken this project all the way to the line and over it, and then resigned in a fit of conscience. And we're like, does that mean you're slightly a good guy, or are you an evil guy who... it's really quite hard to tell how much... But it was a great save from the penalty, so it's unavoidable. And there's not many people getting praise here. I'm vaguely happy for Westwood to get the nod. Maybe Pelupessy. I thought Pelupessy did a good job.
Pelupessy was good,
very quiet
for most of it.
He also made a burst. There was a moment where he made a burst forward. I don't know what he would have done with it. More than likely something worse than Harris. But there was a point where Rhodes could have played him through pretty much through the middle of their defence, and he chose not to. He picked I think he passed it to Patterson on the right wing instead, and it sort of went to nothing. But I love the fact that he's doing his job and also still kind of got a bit of that puppy dog enthusiasm to try and make things happen further forward, even though he has none of the skills to to make any useful interventions there. Villain of the piece.
Harris.
Yeah, Harris and Rhodes both probably in the running for that, but I think.
But it's very much a Shakespearean question, isn't it? Is it better to have got in positions and spunked them away than to have never had positions at all?
Yeah,
which is the argument,
which one is nobler in the mind?
On one side, it's Harris and Burner. Harris, Burner, Palmer. On the flip side of that is Andrew Green and Callum Patterson.
I just think Rhodes had enough. If he produced one decent header out of three, he had 3 good chances today.
Yeah,
he didn't make any of them look like chances, look like things that should have accounted for anything.
I know, but I just again.
But then Harris. Think about 10 minutes in. Think about if Harris scored 10 minutes in. Today would have been a different story. Well and truly. Okay, no, I'm happy to pour all of the hot bubbling scorn on Harris.
All that blame sauce.
Yeah.
Just cover Harris in some blame sauce.
I'm going to marinate you up in blame sauce, and then when you're done, add some more blame sauce.
We're going to slow roast Kadeem Harris. We're just over a period of 12 hours going to be like, you're shit, you're terrible.
Oh, well, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry for trauma fans that you didn't get your juicy nuggets of Heartbreak live, and I'm sorry for Luke that there's still the potential that he has to get up next week, get up early. But I'm pleased that Wednesday there's still a vague possibility of staying up.
I guess if we would have won, well, let's think about it. If we would have won,
it might have produced a response from the opposition, the other
well,
team.
It's still the same situation. If we would have won today, because since Derby lost, we'd still need. Hang on, so we got a point, so that goes to 40 points. If we would have won, that would be 42 points. We still need to win next week.
I think it would have put more pressure on Rotherham.
Right. Yeah, there is that.
It would have meant It would have meant we couldn't be like Rotherham can still relegate us Tuesday, can't they? Whereas I think if we won, that wouldn't have been the case.
If they win, it's pretty much done. Really.
Yeah.
It could be interesting. It could just get 2 draws, but they just need to win one of the 2 games, and then they're good.
Yeah.
And then we're done, and Derby are done.
Oh, isn't it fun?
Which would be fun.
All these fun imitations.
Would be funny for Wayne Rooney to.
It would be very funny, especially with the big takeover as well.
Big takeover, no, leading
swanging takeover,
leading Derby to the promised land of EFL League One.
Take a step back.
Wayne Rooney's there, like, said you wanted a slice of the action, La. I'm giving it you in the Papa John's trophy.
They are in the worst. They're in the worst form of anybody at the moment, Derby. They have lost their last 5 in a row.
Just to go back and say thank you again to Paul for the email. Another bit is it better to have got a slice of the action with the Papa John's trophy than to have never got a slice of the action with the Papa John's trophy at all?
Or get a slice of some paint with the Johnson's paint trophy. Oh dear.
Anyway, let's leave. We should leave it there. Next week, when Heartbreak is covered, we can then talk about whether whether Chaboy, whether we can talk about what happens with the television rights for the Papa John's Trophy. If Wednesday played Newcastle under 23s in a forest with no one around to watch it, does it still happen? Is it still tedious?
Does John Joe Shelby still have an air of superiority that's entirely unearned? Do you remember when we beat them at St James's Park? He was slagging off. He's like, "Can't wait till we get up to the Premier League. The teams don't press you in the same way, and I'll have a lot more time on the ball." Oh yeah, John Joe, how's it going there? You're definitely the star, aren't you? Constantly playing for Newcastle, pinging those balls around. What a player! He just needed to be a level up to get better. Moron.
Oh, now he's the knobhead who shall not be named because we've all forgotten who he is.
He does have a look of Voldemort about him, to be honest.
Exactly. There we go.
A Dragul sort of air to him. So, Schrödinger's relegation. We are still not opening that box. It may have been opened for us by Rotherham midweek, but we can't possibly know that at this stage. So stop asking us.
Schrödinger's boxed.
Yeah, Schrödinger's boxed. Is it a boiler? Is it a sex toy? Is it a relegation? We'll find out next week on Different Gravy.